this interview is brought to you by Burn Up Coaching and Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self and the 21-Day Challenge. And if you are an entrepreneur or a high achiever and you have so much potential within you, but you're not quite drawing it out, you are unfulfilled, you're unhappy, or you know that there's more room for growth, the 21-Day Challenge might be exactly what you need to reignite yourself, your self-belief, your passion, so you can succeed like never before. What will happen is we'll do a daily check-in every day for 21 days. You're going to get clear on your 21-day goal. You're going to get clear and clarity on your dreams and your vision and what you want to accomplish long-term. You're going to dial in your daily and nighttime morning and morning routines. Lots of really great stuff. But if it sounds like it's for you, then send me a message, send me an email, let me know that you're interested. You can email to chris@beyourgps.com or send me a message on Facebook, facebook.com/th3burns, and let me know you're interested in 21-Day Challenge. If it is a fit or seems like a fit, I'll send you an intake form and we'll go from there. And if not, no hard feelings. It's not for everyone, okay? But if it is for you, let's get this challenge started. Looking forward to it and looking forward to helping you achieve your 21-Day Challenge goal. The next section is going to be our iTunes review of the week, and that is left by Miss Luna Goon. I believe it's a miss. It sounds like a miss. Value-packed, taking you to new heights. Chris is an incredible interviewer. He is super smart, silly, and has a gigantic heart of gold. He genuinely cares for his fans and bends over backwards to deliver high-end value for everyone he meets. This is a must listen. I recommend making time for it every week. Thank you, Chris, for your continued contributions. Thank you so much, Lunagoon. I appreciate you, and I hope everyone, if you want to leave a review, I hope you do that for us. You give us that feedback. You let us know how we can improve. Let us know which guests you love most. Let us know how we could make things different that are it's even better. Make this 12-hour marathon even better. I have tons of great ideas, and I know from all of you, you'll have even more, and we can make this thing even better. So thanks in advance for doing that. I appreciate that. Now let's go to the introduction of the man of the hour. Let's get that up. And it is the one, the only Jason McDonald. So Jason is a technologist crazy enough to begin experimenting with online media in 1994 when he founded EG3.com as a web portal for embedded systems, broadly defined. Currently, he is focusing on a few key focus areas. First, he teaches SEO, search engine optimization, and social media marketing, both on campus at Stanford University, continuing studies, and as a part of the online program of Stanford Continuing Studies. Second, Jason's current passion is his books, and he is busy writing a new book on marketing based on the Think, Do, Measure methodology. You can find Jason's books on Amazon by searching SEO, social media marketing, or Google AdWords. And we are in for a real treat because we have a ton of entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, coaches, and people who want to get their message out in that way. And Jason is going to be helping us do that, guiding us toward that. And he is here with us today to help us achieve that. Jason, are you ready to rock this?
I'm ready to rock it.
He's ready to rock it. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Nerds can rock it, but I'm going to rock it.
I love it. I love it. We're rocking it. You are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. We're going to have so much fun, and thank you so much for taking time out of being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be great. So let's dive right into the theme of today, which is calling in your creations. Now, how I've been talking about it earlier is, you get to call in your creation. You get to set a vision and bring it into reality. You get to manifest. You get to create, whatever that is for you. So how has that concept or principle played a part in your life, Jason?
Oh, well, lots of ways. So as an author, right? So when you write a book, I like little quippy phrases, so there's I believe it's Einstein who said that success is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, yep. Right? So, very important. So, writing a book is like that. You have the inspiration. I'm going to write a book on AdWords, something like that. Actually, I'm rewriting my book on social media marketing for 2019 right now. And I'm done with the chapter on Facebook. And you talk about perspiration is going through all the changes on Facebook, and they're pretty difficult user interface for advertising, and just trying to make that accessible and understandable to people. So you have to have a vision, right? I'm going to write a chapter on how to do Facebook marketing. Okay, that sounds great. Lots of people want to know that. And then you have to have the perspiration to go and do it. And that's it. So I think I'm kind of an intellectual person. I'm a recovering PhD. I have a PhD from Berkeley, so I think that, as a creative person, you have to have inspiration in, certainly my books, most importantly, then of course, a lot of my client work. I've got a client in Brownsville, Texas right now as a personal injury lawyer, and we're trying to do better on his Facebook. So we're working on Facebook giveaways, and we're giving away iPads and things like that. So we have this inspiration. We're going to get some great traction for him in the Brownsville, Texas area. And then we've got all the logistics of making that giveaway on Facebook exciting and also reach the people we want to reach, right? So that's such an important thing to me, is this toggling, or what I call twaggling, between inspiration and perspiration. And you have to have both of those. So I'm a big believer in rolling up my sleeves and doing the grunty, technical, nitty-gritty, boring work that is important to succeeding.
Yeah. I think so many people want that instant success, instant gratification, and there is that aspect of it, like, hey, celebrate your successes, really reward yourself, be proud of yourself, and along the journey, it's mostly going to be putting in that work, taking the actions, and along the journey, of course, we can celebrate and get ready to put in the work, get ready to grind if you have to perspire, like that's the ultimate vision, is like, go sweat, go work so hard that you sweat.
And other area is sort of like, let's get really thick and heavy and philosophical here. So I think the other thing is there's a lot of illusion involved. So like in my book on social media marketing, I talk about parties, and a great party, right? A great party is an illusion. You go to a really good wedding, right? You're just like, oh, it's so beautiful. And they walk down. I just saw Crazy Rich Asians with my wife, and there's an incredible wedding in that movie where they literally go down the aisle and there's like a waterfall kind of thing, and the bride walks through this. Well, it's over the top. It's a $40 million wedding.
Dang.
Really. So, but the point is, it looks kind of easy. It looks magical, whatever. But behind the scenes, a ton of work goes to producing that. Yeah. Now that creates a problem, because in our instant gratification society, people want instant success. They want to just instantly be like that. And they get very frustrated that it's not that easy. And I think you have to separate the illusion of instant from the reality, of all the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. And you can see that with parties. You can see it in concerts. You go to a really good rock concert. It seems like it's just so amazing and so spontaneous and whatever. But if you've ever done any sort of project like that, behind the scenes, tons of perspiration to make it look easy, right?
Yeah.
So that's a very important kind of concept for me.
That's awesome, man. Great distinction. Love diving into the philosophy and the examples right off the bat. Super cool. So, Jason, for anyone who doesn't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do in your company and just what you're working on today?
Yeah. So like I said, I'm a recovering PhD. So I'm one of those people who love being a student, right? So I'm very proud of the fact that I didn't have a really solid job until I was 30. That was the first time I actually had to contribute to society, So, I worked really hard. I got to 30 without ever having to contribute to society. And then it was like, oh my God, I have to get a job, And in the Bay Area, and I didn't want to be an academic. It wasn't really my thing ultimately. So in the Bay Area, the media jobs were in San Jose. So I started working at a media company, several media companies actually, in San Jose in 1994. And this is like the birth of the internet. And that's how I got into SEO and search engine optimization and how search engines work. This is before, it's like date myself. I'm older than Google, right? This is before Google.
Wow.
This is like web crawler and Lycos and all these terms that I think your millennials don't even know there was such a time, but there was, gather around, children, gather around. There was a time before Google. And that's how I got involved in it. And I got very hands-on in how it worked. And I think that has been very helpful for me, because I have a little bit of perspective on it now. I even have a Google towel, although my dog has pretty much destroyed it at this point, that Google gave me. They came to my office and gave it to me because I was one of the first advertisers on Google AdWords.
Wow.
That's 1999. So that's how I got involved in it. And then because I have an academic background, I like teaching, I like understanding, I like writing. And when the economy kind of took the big crash hole there in 2009, that's when I started teaching again. And I kind of brought in, the industry I was in didn't do very well in that downturn. And so that's when I brought in what I was doing to basically anything. So now I have a lot of clients. I've got like a drug rehab client, hair transplant, really interesting, weird art book project. I've got a lot of really fun diversity in my client base.
Yeah.
And then because I teach at Stanford Continuing Studies, I get a lot of really cool, weird entrepreneurs with their insanely amazing ideas. So I really like that. And that's how I got into digital marketing. And of course, over time, social comes along and AdWords and all that stuff. So that's how I've been very self-educated on how all those technologies work from the beginning, right? From when they just started. So
wow,
that's kind of my backstory.
It's incredible. I love it. What
was some... I feel old. I feel old.
It's perfect. You get to share.
Old. I'm
you get
old,
to share the wisdom. You're young at heart. And
yeah. But there's an advantage to being old. I think, in that you can remember, like, it's something about like the launch of AdWords. Yeah. Being involved in it when it was simple, and it sort of helps you understand it in a way. I think now people dive into it and it's fully formed. So.
Yeah, and I think I was talking to another guy who I interviewed, I think it was last week or the week before, and he said that young people have an advantage and a disadvantage, and old people have an advantage and a disadvantage. Right. Young people have tons of energy, but they don't have any wisdom or experience, so they just got to screw up their way to success, versus old people have that better track record to make better decisions.
I think there's some truth in that, And digital marketing, I think there's a little bit of a challenge that a lot of young people grew up using it, and I love analogies. So like, using marijuana isn't the same as growing marijuana, right? So using Facebook isn't the same as advertising or marketing. So you can get into this trap of, because I'm a really great user, I therefore know how to market. And sometimes, it's easier to teach a person who's at zero than a person who has to unlearn some of the things that they think they know. So there is a little bit, like, we could all go smoke some pot and think about that, but there is kind of a mind-blowing, like, using is not the same as producing, I mean, I've seen a lot of movies, but I can't produce a movie, and I've seen a lot of concerts, and you don't want to hear me sing. You know what I mean? Yes. So I think there is. I don't believe that young people or old people have a universal advantage or disadvantage. In fact, and a lot of people that read my books, take my classes, I literally every quarter I get at least one or two people who are like, well, I'm 95 and I want to, do my memoir. And I'm like, okay, great. I even have, believe it or not, a group of people that are in prison who are reading my book right now.
Wow.
I'm corresponding with them and trying to help them out.
That's awesome.
They're doing a project. They're in prison for really severe drug arrests, and they're trying to do a project about their own story and about this controversy about very, very severe drug things, and they're using social media. So who knows, right? So there's, whatever people, that's the great environment that we live in.
That's incredible, though. You've developed these tools and resources for people, no matter where they're at, they can get their message out. They can find ways to use it, and I think that's so beautiful that you took your love, your self-expression, you packaged it up, and you started teaching it and sharing it with people so that they can have these results in their lives. So they can grow their business.
Done my best. Try to. I mean, I always think I'm your own worst critic, but I mean, my wife gives me a hard time because my head gets too big, but. People read the books, and I get a lot of really great stuff from all over the world from people that read these, and they get a lot. And I always like, hey, if you got something out of it, I've done my job. And I always recommend other books to people and other resources, because I don't claim that I know everything. I'm one part of learning, and then you want to be passionate and go educate yourself from other people, and then take that knowledge and make your own entrepreneurial journey. You've got to take that knowledge and do what you're doing uniquely and different ways.
Like we have this gift of integrating our own unique experiences and perspectives to have it as a focused laser beam that reaches different people, that resonates with different people
that have different goals, right? And that's one of the things I like about marketing is it's universal, and then it's applied to different types of businesses, and it's also applied to like nonprofits, political stuff, a lot of application, but it's always a unique brew of your own identity and passion with again, you do need to know some technical knowledge, right? You have to have some technical knowledge to make these things work, especially in the digital age.
Just a question right off the bat came to my mind. Do you think that, because a lot of people say that you should know sales, no matter where you're at, no matter what position, no matter what you do, you should know sales. Do you feel like that's applicable for marketing as well to a certain degree?
Well, So I actually did some sales. I've done some sales in my life for a short period of time. I wasn't particularly good at it, but I think for one thing, I think it's kind of a bogus distinction between sales and marketing. I mean,
Okay.
I think they really do go together. And
Yeah.
actually, like you said, I have a new book out on marketing that's actually just up on Amazon that I just got out. And interesting, when I researched this book on marketing, which grew out of my other books, there's a lot of academic books on marketing. And it's like, what's wrong with these academics? They're just like, oh, marketing is the blah-bitty, blah-bitty, blah-bitty. And I'm like, no, it's not. Marketing is creating an environment to build your brand and sell more stuff. And there is no clear distinction between sales and marketing. They work together.
Yeah.
So I do think that everyone who's involved in business needs to have an awareness of sales. And I also think sales needs to have an awareness of the environment that creates, it makes it easier to sell or harder to sell. But I don't buy this distinction that marketing and sales are totally separate and totally different. I think they're on a continuum. And academics, to kind of beat up on an easy target, academics are just insane. Go read some academic books on marketing and you're like, what are you talking about? This is like somebody from Mars trying to describe like the Everglades. It's bizarre, right? Useless academic books on marketing. And I'm like, I like practical stuff that you can actually do something with. And so, yeah, so sales is a very useful tool and it's a useful experience. I did telemarketing. I was a telemarketer when I was in college. I telemarketed for investment people. And you want to talk about brutal, right? So I have a woman who works for me who's wonderful. She's she used to be a Jehovah's Witness. And she says one of the best experiences in her life was going door to door and getting the door slammed on her and getting the dog sicked on her and getting the sprinklers turned on. And that has really helped her in her marketing. So I like sales. Sales is good.
Yeah, I did 9 months of door-to-door sales for Verizon businesses, you know?
There you go.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's
You get tough, right?
Yeah.
I always try to be kind when they come to my door. I'm like, nope, not interested, but.
Yeah, awesome. So let's dive into the foundation of what marketing, you told us a definition, which is to create an environment where we can sell and make our offers and make money, right? So let's talk about the foundation of that. What are the pillars? What do we need to know about marketing?
Yeah. So again, I'm very practical. So to me, marketing is building your brand and selling more stuff. Right. Okay. That's what marketing's goal is. So you have to talk about like, what's your brand, right? Your brand is that warm and fuzzy feeling that people have around your company, right? If you think Apple computer, you think really sleek products, easy to use, best in class, right? That aura means that when Apple launches a new product, you're already primed to think it's going to be really great because it's coming from Apple. It makes sales easier because of the brand identity, right? Yeah. So I think that's an important concept, is the brand. Now, back that up a little bit. I think it's really important that you as a marketer, you as a business person, sit down and think very specifically, what do you sell and who wants it specifically? Because I teach a lot of classes and a lot of people say, what is your business? And they're like, well, I don't know. And you're already in trouble. Right. Or, because I do SEO, search engine optimization. Like, well, we want to get to the top of Google. Okay, well, first step, what do you sell? Well, we don't really, that won't work. Right. You have to know, what do you sell? Yeah. Right. So in the book, I use the example of cat boarding. I use this fictitious company that sells cat boarding, premium cat boarding in San Francisco. So we sell a place to stash your cat when you need to get out of town. And it's luxury. It's not the cheap cat boarding, it's the expensive type, right? So we have a brand identity and we know exactly what we sell. And then the other element is who wants it. You have to know who wants what you have. So I think that part of marketing is very important. Then I think the branding component is important. What's the kind of touchy-feely aura around your company that you want to create? And some brands, right, are, really expensive, like Tesla. Right. So Tesla's eco-friendly, luxury, high-end vehicles. Some brands are like Chevy. They're low-end, muscle, Americana, whatever. And it's not like one is good and one is bad. They're just different brand identities. So when Chevy comes out with a new truck, you're like, oh, this is going to be a muscle truck. It's going to be red, white, and blue. I'm going to be drinking beer. That's what that is. Yeah. And when Tesla comes out with a new vehicle, it's going to be eco-friendly and you're going to have your Chardonnay and you're going to be hooty tooty because you're better than the rest of us because you drive an expensive luxury vehicle that's eco-friendly. That's the brand, right? And that brand then helps them sell more stuff, but to specific segments, right? The people that buy Chevy trucks are different from the people that buy Teslas.
Totally.
And I think as a marketer, you have to know in a very specific way, what is your brand identity? Who are your target customers? What are you selling? And what's unique about it? And then from there, then you go into all the derivatives. Should I do Facebook? Should I do LinkedIn? Should I do personal selling? You have to all these derivative problems. But if you don't know the first stuff, if you don't know who you are, I always, I joke around when I teach, like, hey mom, I want to go to the Olympics. So great. What sport? I don't know. I can help you. Hey mom, I want to go to the Olympics. I want to be a pole vaulter. Okay, I can help you. I can tell you what you need to do to be good at pole vaulting, right? But you have to know that first thing. So once you know that, then you've got all the exercises and all the stuff you've got to do to get into the Olympics of pole vaulting.
Yeah. What do you think the challenge is for, you said entrepreneurs come to you and they're like, hey, I want to do this marketing. I'm sure some of them start without even a clue on what they want to market, but they just want to start moving in that direction.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people, people are a little bit premature out of the top. So I do think you have to do a little market research. Like, what are you selling? Who wants it? And what's kind of unique about what you're selling that will make people be excited about it, right? So I do think I tease you, this is Jason as therapist, right? So get on my couch and let's talk about what you want. And then you have to think about what other people want. And you've got to get that defined, right? So I think that is a vastly underestimated problem, is that knowing what you're doing. Now, the thing is, you have to experience reality, right? We all know as we grow older, our original vision of what we want to do with our life isn't necessarily the vision that we have older. And I'm not going to get into fetal position here and start crying, but you have to adapt to reality, right?
Yes.
So I do think that's important. And then the technical details are important downstream. So I think there's two pieces. That's the inspiration piece. You've really got to get that down and get a good sense of that. And then there's the perspiration piece of all the technical stuff that you have to do to make it actually happen. And I think that's kind of how I look at this, the split there between those two things, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I know the method that you use is the think, measure, do. Is that what it is?
Think, do, measure.
Think, do, measure. Think, do, measure. So how does that play into the inspiration and perspiration?
Yeah. So think, do, measure is my way of explaining to people, and it works at a high level of generality. Think, we want to produce an eco-friendly car. Okay, great. Do, we have to actually go produce it. Measure, we have to measure, is it selling? Right? What's going on with Tesla right now is they're having a lot of trouble in the doing and the measuring. They're having trouble at the factory getting the cars out the gates and getting, so that's where they're falling out. Now, in a very specific way, think, right? We want to advertise on Google AdWords. We know that people use Google. We know our customers are there. We have a conception. Okay, we want to do that. We have to understand some concepts. How does AdWords actually work? Then we have to go do it. We have to go sign up for an AdWords account. We have to define our keywords. We have to write our ads. We have to go to our landing pages. That's the do part of the process. And then the measure part is, is it actually working? Is it actually selling? Is it ranking on Google? Is it getting clicks? Is the clicks converting? That's all the measurement. And then you got to take that back and get better. But that think, do, measure goes through all of marketing. And as a person who's taught classes and worked with lots of people, they break down and they get lost in the mire, and they're just like, what are we doing? And you're just like, you break it down in these pieces and you say, okay, now I know what I'm where I'm going. Where do I have a problem? Like, I want to advertise on Facebook. Okay, great. Do you understand how it even works? Okay, if you don't, then you're stuck in think. You've got to get that done. Okay, now you got that. Have you done it? Have you signed up? Have you created a post? Have you boosted a post? That's the do part. Are you breaking down there? And then measuring, you can do all this stuff, but if at the end of the day it doesn't build your brand or sell you more stuff, maybe Facebook's not right for you. So that's what those pieces are meant to help people sink their teeth into. Because what I don't want to do is just do think, because there's a lot of books. I won't beat up on various authors on the internet, but there's a lot of books that are just like, wow, you're amazing. Oh my God. And you get so excited and you're just like drunk with ecstasy and you're just like, yes. And then you're like, now what? Because it's all inspiration. They're great. They're like motivational books. Yes. And then you're like, okay, now what do I actually do? Well, I don't know. And there's other books, like especially the Dummies series. There's like really, really, really technical, really, really detailed, but there's no like vision. Like Dummies books are like, read them and go to sleep. They're so boring because there's, you know what I mean? I don't know if you ever read the Dummies books.
Yes.
I'll just put you to sleep, right? It's a little both. So that's especially with marketing, which is, I think, the super most funnest part of business. It should never be boring.
What is it that brings you joy about marketing?
Because people are irrational and crazy. No, really, they are. And marketing is applied social science, right? What do scientists tell us? People are rational. What do economists tell us? People are rational, cost maximizing profit seekers. Marketers are like, I don't think so. They're like super crazy and they make
impulsive, emotional.
Thank you. And I love that because you see and experience how people really are. And in a little bit, you manipulate them, right? To get them to do what you want, and hopefully in a good way. It's not totally dishonest, but it's practical, applied. How are people, what is the human person really like in reality? And there's a lot of craziness in the human experience. And I love that about people.
Yeah. And I think the big thing is if we have a service that we know makes a difference, or a product that we know makes a difference, it's like our moral obligation to get that in front of as many people as possible, knowing that it will benefit and change their lives in a positive way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, I'm a little bit more, artistic about the whole thing too. There's an art to good marketing.
Yeah.
Look at Tesla. I live in Fremont, so I'm in very close to the factory, and they're beautiful cars. Just the beauty of the way the car is designed. You're just like, wow, that is a beautiful car, which is not an objective thing. There's an artistic part, even to the logo. The logo of Tesla is such a cool logo. When you drive behind one, you're like, damn, that car is amazing, right? It's an emotional, and I love that about marketing because there's a lot of art to marketing, which is, cool. So
that's awesome. I love it. So how do we know? We look at where our person is hanging out to know where and how to market to them, right? Like, who is the perfect client for us, and how do we market to them? We have to know more about them.
Absolutely. So you got to do a little market research, and you're absolutely right. That's called buyer personas. You have to figure out your buyer personas, who is going to buy your car, and not just where they hang out, but what's the process that they go through in making a purchase or getting close to a purchase. And that's going to vary depending on the product or service sold. So just to stick with cars, right? So cars, there are different paths. I talk about these in the book. There are different paths that people use to discover things. So one is just the search path. They go to Google and they type in electric cars. So that's a search path. And then if you were Tesla, if you're Nissan Leaf, if you're Toyota with the Prius, you want to show up on those Google searches. So people go, look at us. We have what you're interested in.
Right.
That's one path. Another path is just the share path. People, friends, family, they buy the vehicle. And what do we do when we buy a new car? We go tell everyone we know, look at my cool new car. Come for a ride with me in my super cool car. That's sharing. And then what do we do on Facebook? We take a photo of ourselves next to our cool car to show off to the rest of the world. Who's in their pathetic old cars. Look at us, we're in our new car. So as a marketer, you have to break down, where are the ways that your customers would look for this information, but also share it, right? And spread it. And then you, as a marketer, are trying to kind of manipulate, to say a bad word, but enhance your brand in any one of those different channels.
Right.
And you got to think that, and it's different for cars than for hair transplants or DUI attorney, right? DUI attorney, not a lot of social sharing. People don't take a picture like, look at me, I just got out of jail because this is great. It doesn't happen, right? I'm on Facebook. I'm so proud. I just, here I am with my mugshot, right? Doesn't happen. So there's not a lot of share path for DUI attorneys, but there's a lot of search, right? When Uncle Bob gets arrested, what do? You go to Google and you search for DUI attorneys and you make a decision right there and then.
Yep.
So there's a lot of detailed analysis that needs to occur. Where are your customers hanging out? Digital, non-digital, and what influences them?
Beautiful. So there's lots of different paths, but I wanted to also focus on the search engine optimization path because I know it's a big focus of yours. So we do have a lot of authors, speakers, coaches who are building their own brands, and I think they might be using social media a lot now. And I'm just curious, how do they integrate SEO with social media or with their website in their process of being able to bring in new clients and make a bigger impact?
Yeah. So right out the bat, you make up a really important point right there, is that they're different, right? And I like to, I'm very, think about things, right? So it's not an either or equation. It's not either you do Google or you do Facebook. You do both. But in this hype, Kardashian world that we live in, right? It's like, what's the latest? Oh my God, everybody's on Snapchat. You've got to be on Snapchat. Forget about Google. We're all on, that's how we think, right? I mean, that's the hype of the media environment, right? Snapchat is great if you're trying to reach 13-year-old girls. That's where they hang out. But it is not great if you're trying to reach potential Tesla owners, right? So the first point is SEO in social. It's not an either or, it's an and. Right? It's an and it's going to be different for different kinds of businesses. Some businesses are heavy search, DUI attorney. Some businesses have a lot of share in them, right? So if you're selling swimsuits or you're selling Cancun vacations, lots of share. So I think that's important. Then within SEO, what is SEO? SEO is essentially, how do you influence Google so that your product or service shows at the top of Google? Okay, back to think, do, learn. The first part of think is you have to understand that you can manipulate Google. It's not just Google is not an objective truth. What's at the top of Google for car insurance is not objectively the best car insurance, right? It's whoever was the smartest at manipulating Google, right? So once you have that, like, whoa, then you realize, okay, now I need to learn the skills and techniques and tactics to influence Google so that my website ranks at the top. Now, does that mean you can do it? Not necessarily. It can be difficult. Mom, I want to go to the Olympics. Okay, you've got to put in the work to do it, but you can do it if you put in the work. See what I'm saying, right? It's not that just, easy, but, a little bit of technical knowledge, right? So that's what SEO is influencing Google to get to the top. And once you know that that's what you want to do, right? There's a website. I want your audience to write this website down. It's google.com. And you go to google.com. I'm not kidding you. I mean, I joke around. You're not kidding you. Go to google.com and type in SEO starter guide. Okay. And what you're going to find, shocking. If you're driving your car, please don't stop your car. Pull over to the side of the road. Do this on your phone. Literally Google the Google SEO Starter Guide, and you're going to find that Google has produced a guide on how they want people to build websites. Wow. Now, they don't promote it really heavily because they make money on AdWords, but there is actually a Google guide. It's not perfect. It doesn't tell you everything, but I guarantee 90% of your listeners, if they have a website and they download this Google guide and they read it and they do what Google tells them to do. This is like, when my wife and I are lost, it's like ask for directions, It's like when we actually stop. People who live in the GPS era don't even know what that means anymore because they're like, what? Directions? What are you talking about? Back in the day, right? You'd be lost. You'd stop and you have to ask for directions. So if you actually read the Google SEO Starter Guide, it's going to tell you really simple things like put your keyword in your title tag. I can't tell you how many clients I have. They put their keywords in their title tag, or we do it for them. Oh my God, we're at the top of Google. You're like, yes, I know. Pay my expensive invoice right now. Right. So that's what I mean about you. Then there's levels of it. There's all sorts of stuff we can talk about, derivative stuff. But read that guide. That will be a huge step up for most people because most people haven't even done that.
Wow, it's powerful.
They build a website doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like people put in all this work to make it look nice, pay thousands of dollars for the design. And it's like, okay, Where are the
right.
customers?
It doesn't work because the look of the website is not what Google looks at. It looks at the words, and the structure of the words is a huge part. It's called on-page SEO. And then the off-page SEO, right? Those are the links and the reviews. Another huge, like, it's so funny. People are like, okay, well, how do we manipulate Google? What are you? Okay, well, we're a massage therapist. Okay, go to Google, type in massage therapist Dallas. Okay, who's at the top? Okay, look at the screen and you'll see that the people at the top have a lot of reviews. And then look at those reviews. Where are those reviews? Those reviews are on Google. Okay, so you're massaging the person, you're doing your Swedish massage, you're sweating up, you say, hey, can you do me a favor? Write me a review on Google about my business. Okay, great. The people who are at the top have more reviews than the people who are not at the top.
Yeah.
So now you have a practical to do. Go ask happy customers to write a review for you. And guess where? On Google, because Google prefers Google reviews. Right? So now we have an action item that we can do if you're a local business. And that's that kind of practical stuff that really moves the dial. And it's like, once you do it, you're like, wow, I mean, it's so obvious. Once you see that Google reviews influence who ranks on Google, right? So obvious. And then the little less obvious is ask for reviews. Ask happy customers to review you.
Yeah. And it's like collecting those and really putting yourself in a position so that people find you on Google. It's like once you build into the system, the process, create it like you standardly ask every happy customer. Like it's essential to run a business as a business rather than a hobby where it's like, oh, it's hit or miss.
Absolutely.
Or, I'm just like, it's random. Yeah, exactly. Make it systematic. How do you find making our business systematic ties into SEO? Like what's the link between systems and SEO success? And
completely. Very, very important point. So a little knowledge, right? You have to know, like, I'm always like, break it down. Like, we have to knowledge. We know that reviews matter for a local business, and try it. Go to Google, put in pizza, put in cat boarding, put in dog boarding, put in veterinarian, put in divorce attorney, and you're going to see that the people who are in the top of the little box, that's called the Google Pack, local pack, those are people who have reviews. The more reviews, the better. Now, it's a little more complicated but that's the thing. Okay, so now we know what is a huge part of the algorithm, Google reviews. Now, talk about systematic. Systematic is every time that the technician comes to the house to fix the plumbing, right? Then the technician at the end of the job says, did I do a good job? Are you happy? Oh, okay, you're happy? Would you write us a review on Google? So you have a system in place, and you have a little checkbox with your technicians, your plumbers. Every time we do a plumbing job, we ask, write us a review on Google. First we ask, do you like us? Are you happy? Right. Oh, you are happy? Write a review. Are you happy? No, I'm not happy. Why not? Well, you didn't clean up. Okay, let me clean up. Now, are you happy? Yes. Will you write a review? Are you happy? No, you're not. Why not? Because I'm a bitter, nasty, horrible person who just hates people. Thank you. I'm not going to ask. So they have a system. You literally have those options. They're happy, write a review. They're not happy, figure it out and fix it. They're just a bitter, nasty person. Don't ask.
Yeah.
System. And the same with content, right? For my clients, for SEO, I recommend that you write 4 blog posts a month solely for Google. So every month you've got to create some content about your business, and you got to, because guess what? Google rewards sites that have fresh content. Set a goal, 4 blog posts a month, very simple, 1 per week. And it's not, you're not writing War and Peace here. You're not writing the Bible. It's just a short little blog post of, hey, we went out to this place, we did a plumbing job, I fixed the toilet, it was great. I love Bethesda, Maryland. Boom, done. And that's to feed the beast.
Yeah.
I know that's what I mean about being systematic, but you have to have some knowledge, but then you have to make it, and I have clients that, there are various points and they fall off the wagon, and you're like, well, hey, Jason, we suck. We're no longer ranking. I was like, well, how are you doing on reviews? Well, the last review we got was in 2003. Well, why do you think you suck? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, suck it up a bit. I mean, you gotta You can't just be like, oh, I want to be in the Olympics, but I don't want to exercise. I don't want to eat right. I don't want to go to tryouts. And then like, why cry, baby? It's not working.
I love it. I love it. So I'm curious about, because I do podcasts, right? I'm curious. The iTunes has its own review system, and then Google would be a separate review.
Correct.
How do we integrate like those two different ones to get the most amount of value, or is one weighted more than the other?
Yeah.
In terms of,
So that's an example of where is the custom. So this is the question for you as a podcast owner, right? Let's talk about you.
Let's do it.
Right.
Let's do it.
So it's like, where do people find podcasts, right? And how do they find podcasts? So that's very interesting. It's kind of like the marijuana question, although I don't use drugs. I think drugs are really bad, by the way. I'm very anti-drug, but it's a good example. But I'm a heavy user of podcasts. I love podcasts. Podcasts to me are like, wow, I no longer have to listen to crappy radio.
That's right.
Right? I no longer have to listen to the same stupid story. I wish the radio would say something like, hey, today in the news, the Middle East is a complete train wreck and everyone hates each other, moving right along. Right? Because it's like, what's the point of telling me about this? This is the same. Nothing ever changes over there. So, I want to hear something that I can change. It can change my life. Right. And I think that's what's happened with podcasting is it's replacing radio, because you just get sick of
it's on demand. It's whatever you want. You don't have to put up
no ads, or very few ads compared to radio. So then you have to say, well, how do people discover podcasts? Right. So part of that is they go to Google and they Google marketing podcasts, or they go to Stitcher, or they go to iTunes, and the same thing. They type in marketing podcast. So then the algorithm at Google, at iTunes, at Stitcher, what do they look at? Does the podcast name say marketing? Does the podcast have a lot of reviews? Right? Does the podcast have fresh content? So that's your search path. So when you're telling your listeners, if you like me, write me a review, you're asking them to write reviews. That's very important for promotion. But you also have what I would call the share path, where people hear about a podcast and then they tell their friends and family, this is an interesting podcast. You should check that out. And that's where, we all do this. You hear something, you read something, and you email it, or maybe you share it on Facebook to friends and families. Hey, check this podcast out. It's really interesting. That's your share path, right? Then you have your influencer path, like, when I'm going to go share your podcast to my social audience, and then those people will check it out. So that's a share dynamic that's in podcasting that I think is a different than search. So I distinguish between your search path and your share path. They're different paths, and podcasting has some of both.
Yeah, and like you said, the paths, and depending on where our ideal customer or client hangs out and how they find these resources, where they're at in their buying temperature, will determine where we want to put our energy and effort. So if people are saying, get out of depression, and there's a podcast that helps them be their greatest possible self, then they want to search that, and that's a hot buyer that wants to immediately get out of that place. Versus if someone shares it like, hey, this is inspiring, I think there's some huge credibility because it's word of mouth and it's from a friend or a trusted source, which make it more powerful. But it might not necessarily be the most precise of a buyer, someone who's ready to buy.
I think this is sort of off topic a little bit for some, maybe not for all your audiences, but for those of us that are in the I wouldn't say creative, but the more abstract types of businesses, right? Think of the trends. I think trends are very important to discovery. And here's an example of what I mean. So I have a guy who's a hair transplant guy in the Bay Area, and there are different technologies. There's a technology called follicular unit extraction, right? And that's a robotic technology. It's relatively new, like last 6, 7, 8 years. So what happens is, it's kind of new and trending. So people hear about it, and then they are likely to search for it. And then that's the first discovery point. And then that technology may not be what the person needs or wants, but because it's new and exciting, that people look for that.
Right.
And so that kind of finding the cultural zeitgeist, the trending topic is important for many businesses. So like in podcasting or in books, sometimes it's the trending topic. Like, when Facebook changes its algorithm, right?
Yeah.
Everyone panics and then they start Googling and searching, and they're very sensitive. Like, what are the changes that Facebook has come up with? So I think you also need to be sensitive to what I would call cultural resonance, like what's in the culture, what are people talking about and interested in right now, and that moves. And you want to be right on that. If you go to YouTube and you put in newsjacking, there's a guy named David Meerman Scott. You may have heard of him. He's a wonderful set of videos on newsjacking, and it's about paying attention to the news and getting content that's on those trends, on those trends. And that's another type of SEO, is getting content that's hitting the cultural trends as they hit. And you might think, what's changing in hair transplant? Well, things do change. Or my drug clients, right? Fentanyl, Suboxone, these new drugs have come out that people are concerned about. Some have therapeutic uses, and people search for them. So even in drug therapy, there are trends.
Yeah. And what I love about this is you can find the trends, and then we can be creative in how we utilize the trends, because you could see, for example, that there's a huge trend of this hair transplant, but maybe you're not a hair transplanter, but let's say you're a coach. Like, for example, for me, I'm a personal development coach, and I teach people how to love and accept themselves. So I use the momentum of people who are looking for this solution and then redirect them to saying, hey, you thought you needed that, but here, let me tell you a secret about you didn't even know. It's that you're insecure and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, maybe you don't need it, or maybe you do. Or, exactly. That's exactly right. So you can kind of latch on to that theme and then pull them into your orbit, something that you have interesting to talk about. And I think that's a very good point. And that's the newsjacking concept, to give credit where credit is due. That's what David Meerman Scott talks about, is latching on to the stuff that's in the culture that people are talking. And social is so great for that, right? You can go to BuzzSumo, really wonderful tool, buzzsumo.com, and you can see what's trending, and you can see what people are sharing, and then you can hop right on that and create content around a theme. Now that's much more advanced than a very simple, like, ask for reviews.
Right.
But, so I always say to people, there's like beginning poker, right? That's the ace is worth more than a deuce, knucklehead. And then there's advanced poker, like learning what a royal straight is. So the same thing, right? Newsjacking is more advanced SEO. Basic SEO is just knowing your keywords, knowing the stable stuff, putting in your content, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So we're beginning to wrap up here. We want to know, what are the final takeaways from this interview and final pieces of wisdom about SEO, about marketing, that you want our audience to know?
Yeah, so a couple pieces. So I think you and I are kindred spirits this way. So one thing I would say is, don't be intimidated. You can do this. There's a lot of intimidation on the internet where people think, oh, you have to be a technical genius to do SEO. That is not true. You can do it with some hard work and some knowledge, and a little knowledge will go a long way. I think that's a huge takeaway. Don't think that you have to have a computer science degree from Yale University in order to do this. You do not. I think that's a huge takeaway. I think a huge takeaway is the difference between inspiration and perspiration. You need both. One in of itself is not sufficient. You have to have the inspiration for your entrepreneurial idea, but you also have the perspiration of going out and doing it. Right. Third, I would say technical knowledge. Sometimes the most powerful things in life are when you realize that you don't know. So when you realize, I don't understand Facebook advertising, that's actually an epiphany, because then you can go learn how to do it. Once you realize, I don't know this, but I can learn how to do it. Now you've been empowered and you realize, I can do this. I think that is a huge area. And then I would think, maybe a fourth takeaway, think about the discovery path for your customers. Like you said, where are they hanging out? And then it's like fishing, put the bait where the fish are. Hello, rocket science, fish where the fish are, so important, right? If, not everyone is on Snapchat. I mean, I love Snapchat, but you know what I mean? Don't fall into the trap of like, Snapchat, I'm selling industrial fans. I've got to be on Snapchat, right? Not happening, right? Fish where the fish are. And that varies. If you're selling teenage girls, Snapchat is awesome. But if you're not, you're not. So
That's awesome, man. I love it. I love it. You're so much fun, Jason. This has been an amazing interview. I know people definitely want to learn more about you. They want to find out about your book and stay connected with you. How do they do that?
Easiest way is go to Google and type in Jason McDonald, and I'm at the top of Google for my own name, beating out people who have six-pack abs and baseball as a revenge of the nerds from high school, right? So Google my name, go to Amazon, put in Jason McDonald, put in SEO, put in social media. You'll find my books really easily also on Amazon.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for coming on today, sharing about your wisdom. Thank you for your personality. Thank you for your unique flavor of bringing this information, this awareness, and helping people achieve their dreams. And thank you for teaching and helping people in a very accessible source in university and just being available for people, and just you're a genuine, authentic guy, and it's what makes you, likable, and people want to be with you. So keep it up and keep developing that. Keep sharing that, man. I know, right?
Boom.
tell your wife, be like, do you know what Chris Burns said today?
Boom. I take that. All right. Well, thank you for having me.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome. Have the best day ever, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.